Ever feel like you're on that treadmill,
Mm.
working your tail off, but not really getting any closer to where you really want to be?
Yeah.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into some surprising truths about success.
Okay.
And we're getting these from entrepreneur Simon Squibb and his book, What's Your Dream?
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, have you read this one?
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
It's quite thought-provoking, I think.
Yeah, I really liked it. And one of the things that really struck me was how he challenges these deeply ingrained beliefs we have about success, the things we've been taught since we were kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about Squibb's perspective is that he doesn't shy away from tackling those really ingrained ideas,
Right.
the ones we've been told again and again and again since childhood about success.
Like if you just work hard enough, success is a guarantee.
Yeah.
He actually calls that out as a myth.
Hmm.
And I gotta admit, it made me pause for a second. Because we hear that all the time, right? Hard work pays off.
All the time.
It's like a mantra.
Right. And Squibb's not saying hard work isn't important,
Right.
but he argues that it's often used as this oversimplified explanation for success.
Hmm.
And it masks the more nuanced things that are really going on.
Okay, so unpack that a little bit for us. What are some of those kind of hidden factors that he points to?
Well, he talks about how saying that success is only because of hard work, attributing it just to hard work, that can actually be a way of kind of downplaying other elements like talent, strategy, or even just, luck, being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
It's almost like a way to not sound arrogant
Yeah.
or boastful.
Makes sense. And
Yeah.
like the humble brag of achievement.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I just worked really hard.
Right.
But I'm guessing there's more to it than just modesty.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
There's definitely more to it than just modesty.
Based on what you said about, those ingrained beliefs.
Yeah. Squibb argues that we're basically conditioned from when we're really little
Mm,
to believe that hard work is the key to everything. Good job. A house security, the whole 9 yards.
yeah.
And while those things are important, this belief can make it really hard to break free and chase those dreams.
Yeah.
That might seem, risky or unconventional.
So it's like we're on this treadmill running hard, but maybe in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid to step off and try a different path.
Precisely. And that fear of stepping off the treadmill is really closely tied to Squibb's second myth.
Okay.
Failure means disaster.
Ooh, man, that one hits close to home.
Right.
I think everyone struggles with that fear of failure, at least a little bit. It can be paralyzing.
Yeah, and it's understandable. I mean, our education system, with all the emphasis on tests and grades,
Right.
it often reinforces this very black and white view of success and failure.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of room for learning and growing from mistakes.
No, it's all about getting the right answer.
Exactly.
But Squibb uses a great example in the book. He talks about celebrity chef Jamie Oliver,
Oh, yeah.
who had this massive business failure, lost millions of dollars, had to close restaurants.
Right.
I mean, most people would consider that a disaster.
Absolutely. But what's so remarkable is that Jamie Oliver didn't let that define him.
Hmm.
He picked himself back up, learned from what happened, adapted, and ultimately built his business back up, even stronger than before.
Okay, so Jamie Oliver is obviously like a high-profile example, but Squibb also gets really personal in the book.
Yeah?
He talks about his own venture into comic books with Devishard, which I think, from what I gather, was initially a huge success.
It was. He was super close to getting a movie deal.
Wow.
But ultimately, the venture lost him like $1.5 million.
Ooh.
And what I think is really interesting is his perspective on that loss.
Yeah, he doesn't dwell on it as this massive defeat or anything. It's more like, okay, what can I learn from this? What mistakes did I make? How do I avoid making them again?
Exactly. He talks about the importance of choosing the right partners, managing your finances well, and understanding that creative industries can be really unpredictable.
Right.
He even tells this funny story about almost going into business with Harvey Weinstein,
Oh, wow.
which in hindsight he sees as dodging a bullet.
Yeah, sometimes failure can be a blessing in disguise,
It can,
but it's definitely hard to see it that way when you're in the middle of it.
for sure.
I think that's why this myth, this fear of failure, is so pervasive.
It is. And that's where Squibb's connection between the two myths gets really interesting.
Okay.
He suggests that this constant focus on hard work can actually make us more afraid to fail.
I see what you mean. If we're always being told to play it safe, keep our heads down and just grind it out, then taking a risk that could lead to failure, well, it feels like a failure in itself.
Yeah.
Almost like we're breaking the rules if
Right.
we don't succeed. So it's almost like this cycle, The fear of failure keeps us from chasing those dreams. And this idea that we just need to work harder keeps us from even considering that there might be another way.
Yeah, and that's what Squibb's getting at. To do something truly amazing, something that really lights you up, you got to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone, accept that you might fail. And like we were saying earlier, work smart, not just hard.
So how do we actually do that? How do we break out of that cycle? Squibb talks a lot about defining your dream.
Right.
And I'm guessing that's a big part of it.
Oh, absolutely. He asks this really simple question, what's your dream? But it can actually be surprisingly hard to answer.
Yeah, because for a lot of us, I think those dreams get buried, under societal expectations, financial pressures, maybe even just self-doubt. We lose sight of them.
Exactly. And that's where the real work begins. Rediscovering those dreams, dusting them off, and figuring out how to actually chase them, even if it means facing those fears of failure and questioning what we've always been told about hard work.
That really resonated with me because I realized for years I never really stopped to think about what my dream was. I was so busy working, achieving goals. But it was almost like I was just on autopilot.
Yeah.
Following this path that someone else had set out for me.
That's so common,
Yeah.
especially for people who are driven and ambitious. We get so caught up in the hustle, chasing external validation, that we lose sight of what actually matters to us.
And it's not about rejecting hard work entirely. It's more about reframing it. Squibb's saying that when you're really connected to your dream, to something you're passionate about, the hard work becomes a source of joy.
Yes.
A way to be creative and make a difference. It's not just a means to an end anymore.
It's about putting in the effort for the right reasons, for the things that truly make you come alive. And I think that's where our view of failure starts to change too.
Okay.
It's less about avoiding failure at all costs and more about seeing it as a necessary part of the journey.
Yeah, it's a learning opportunity that gets you closer to your dream, even if you have to take a few detours along the way.
Right. And the key takeaway here is that you get true fulfillment when you're aligning your work, your energy, your efforts with something that you really connect with deep down. It might not look like those traditional markers of success, the corner office, the fancy title, but it's what brings a sense of purpose and joy.
So for our listener, what does this mean? If we're really going to take Squibb's challenge to heart, where do we even begin? How do we uncover those dreams that have been buried and start taking action?
Well, Squibb says it's not just about wishing or hoping.
Right.
It's about being super clear about what you actually want to achieve, what impact you want to have, how you want to feel.
Okay, so let's say our listener has done that soul searching. They figured out their dream. What's the next step? Because I think a lot of people get stuck there in the okay, but how phase.
Yeah, and that's where Squibb talks about taking action, even if it's just one small step. He points out how we can get paralyzed by overthinking, trying to plan every little detail before we even begin.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that. Waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan. But you know what? There's no such thing as perfect, right? It's like we're waiting for this, a magical sign or some guarantee that we won't fail.
Yeah.
But as Squibb says, the only way to make any progress is to actually start moving.
Exactly. And that's where those lessons about hard work and failure kind of come full circle. You might run into roadblocks. You'll probably make some mistakes.
Right.
But each step you take, every lesson you learn, it gets you closer to that dream.
Okay, so no more overthinking. No more waiting for that perfect moment.
Right.
What's something our listener can do, like today, to start moving towards their dream?
Squibb talks about breaking down that big dream, the one that might seem a little scary, into smaller steps that feel manageable.
Oh, okay.
And they don't have to be huge or anything.
So, what would be an example of a small step?
Well, it could be something super simple, like doing some research on your idea or reaching out to someone you admire for advice.
Oh, that's good.
Maybe signing up for a class to learn a new skill. You could even just write down your goals to make them more real.
Oh, love that. Because just taking that first step can be so powerful,
Oh, yeah.
It creates this momentum. It's not just this dream floating around in your head anymore.
Right.
It's something you're actively working towards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, even if you stumble, even if you have some setbacks along the way, you're still moving forward. You're still learning. You're still growing.
So to wrap up our deep dive today, we've really dug into some big ideas.
We have.
We challenged those limiting beliefs about hard work and failure. And we talked about how important it is to connect your work to something that you're really passionate about.
Something that lights you up.
And Ultimately, I think it comes down to this. What is your dream?
Yeah.
What's one small step you can take today to make it happen?
Don't let fear hold you back. Embrace the journey, the ups and the